Follow this breaking news from the West Coast. We've got some live aerial images. We're watching from Edwards Airforce Base as there's been a crash of a military aircraft in California's Mojave Desert. We're told that this aircraft was a B-52 Strato Fortress. You're looking at the scene. We presume this to be the crash site as we see kind of like a debris field, a fire field where it looks like there's some charred portions of this runway and the grass alongside it. And in fact, we're still seeing smoke rising from this scene. Very large response. I know we're zoomed out on this shot. Our news partners recently, as they were moving around, were giving a live report, and it looks like they're back at it. Let's listen into the chopper reporter right now.
To the public, we can tell you, though, we're pretty sure that that's going to be runway 7 out here at Edwards Air Force Base in Kern County. And the firefight definitely still continuing out there. We've watched as those two large fire trucks have been making their way into the impact and the burn area, closer and closer, putting out those hot spots. As far as the command post goes, that command post has grown a little bit, and also a positive sign, hopefully, and we see 3 ambulances now staging there on scene as well. That could be for the rescue workers, making sure that nobody gets injured while they're here, or possibility of somebody that needed rescuing from that crash. As far as we know right now, we have no information about any fatalities or who was on board that aircraft. Again, we did get confirmation from them about the B-52. We can show you what one looks like. We have a couple, one here at station at Edwards. That's another one waiting right there at the Air Force Base. But right now, this one that we're seeing on the runway, apparently issues on takeoff, and created a catastrophic event that where that aircraft crashed and was it was devastating to that aircraft. It's about the only way I can say it. But at any rate, they're still down there working, and of course there's going to be a complete investigation on what happened. But right now, information very limited. Marla?
All right, folks, and just so you know, that was the reporter inside the chopper there providing a live report for our news partners back there on the West Coast. So you heard them toss back to an anchor. We probably won't be able to hear any of the anchor interaction as we do not have that portion of that feed. But we will remain with these live aerials. As you can see, really, I mean, the reporter put it very aptly. I mean, this is devastating. I don't see any portion of this aircraft left. And you can see all of the charred bushes, grass alongside this runway, really indicating that there was probably some sort of fiery element to this crash. It's still smoldering as we speak. Looks like maybe the chopper reporter speaking again. Once again, we won't hear the anchor side, but let's listen in.
Runway, most likely that aircraft probably got into the air and something created maybe a roll or something, because it's not directly on the runway. It seems like it's more off to one side. And again, even that we've seen so many of these in the past, or we've seen a few crashes in the past, and we cannot with any kind of confidence say the aircraft came from right to left or left to right. Definitely a large debris field out here, a lot of parts still out there. We've actually saw other personnel down there starting to walk the scene, another truck arriving there in the grassy area. So this is going to be a lengthy investigation, I'm sure, and of course the Air Force is going to put out the information as soon as they are able to and have it. And again, as far as other agencies, I venture to say it is just going to be Edwards Air Force Base first responders that are down there, and you can see 3 ambulances there joining them at the command post, a number of firefighters there in that one corner, and then those big trucks still working to put out hot spots out here, and there are a couple. But as far as what's left of that aircraft, there is really nothing that would even make you think that this was an aircraft. That's how devastating this crash was.
Once again, folks, you won't be able to hear the anchor portion of this as that reporter is doing this Q&A with his news station there on the West Coast, our news affiliate out there. We should mention, too, we don't really know the nature of the mission or operation that this B-52 Stratofortress was on. We can tell you, though, Edwards Air Force Base there in Kern County, this is north and east of the Santa Barbara area. This is an area used for research, development, and testing of U.S. Air Force aircraft. They also test weapons systems, software, and components out there. So potentially maybe some sort of testing or research element to this flight, but once again, we just don't know. Not a lot of information has been released by Edwards Airfield, other than the fact that they could confirm that this was a crash shortly after takeoff, and the crash happened around 11:20. There you could see, as our news partners continue to circle around the airfield, another vantage point where you could see that trail of scorched earth, if you will, whatever is alongside the runway there, all in black at this point, indicating that there was some sort of fire, and a lot of emergency responding out there, first responders, including firefighters. We saw a couple of ambulances out there. We weren't sure, at least according to the reporting we were getting there from the chopper, whether the ambulances indicated any sort of injury on the Stratofortress, or if those medics were just there for support for first responders who were fighting the fire, or otherwise assisting with the emergency scene. So we'll keep an eye on things there. You can see in the bottom right corner of your screen, we're also watching the Charlotte Mayoral Candidate Forum. So these are two scenes that we'll continue to keep an eye on here on Live Impact. James, I don't know if you're down for a quick break here, or if you think that this reporter in the chopper is going to give us some more information.
Yeah, we'll hang on for just a moment, Vanessa, because what I can also share with the viewers, as you've been talking, doing some additional research here, is we do have some file video of what this aircraft might have looked like. There are a couple different variants of the B-52. This is video from the government that is available to us, just to kind of give us the size, the pure size of this aircraft, right? As you mentioned, it's been around for a really long time. As you can see here in this file video, it's been used for different bombing runs, and that's what this is available in this file video that was shared with us from the government as we take you back out to the live pictures. The current variant of the aircraft has been around since about the 60s, and I've been doing some research. It looks like at a minimum you need about a crew of 5 people to operate this aircraft. And as we learned in that last report from the reporter in the helicopter, it seems that the aircraft was on takeoff at the time of the crash. So we don't know how many people were on board at the time, but as I've been looking through here trying to learn a little bit more about how this aircraft operates, it looks like we're probably talking about a minimum crew of 5 people, unless of course it was some sort of special mission flight or something like that, where they maybe were testing something, because Edwards Air Force Base, in addition to supporting different military operations, is home to, as you mentioned, Vanessa, a lot of ongoing research, given its really flat terrain out there in the rural kind of empty California desert.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up a good point about the crew, because you and I were talking during our most recent commercial break just about the devastation of this scene, the fact that I don't see any portion of an aircraft left here, and we were both commenting, like, we just hope the crew is okay. And I don't even know, and I don't know if this is something that we can research in the next few moments, but whether they even have eject capabilities on a Stratofortress, because, you know, we think about sometimes fighter jet incidents, you are able to eject, you're able to get out of the aircraft if you see some sort of imminent danger. I don't know what the capabilities are with a Stratofortress.
Yeah, and you know, my brain kind of is flashing back to the UPS plane crash in Louisville, which
Yes.
was also a disaster on takeoff, right? When moments are very short. Things are happening very quickly, as opposed to when something might happen mid-flight. These are all moments where you're trying to get up to speed very quickly and get off the ground very quickly. And like you mentioned, Vanessa, from this vantage point, there is not a lot of aircraft visible to us, other than I've heard the reporter kind of speculate that smoke might be coming from engine debris, but essentially what we see is what we know at this stage in the breaking news.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough scene to see, and we do hope that the crew is okay, but we have not a lot of perspective about once again, the capabilities of their ability to get out. And to James's point of, when you're taking off, we hear it all the time. For anybody who flies, you probably have heard this said before, but, takeoff and landing, those are the most, I don't want to say dangerous, but, higher risk portions of a flight that you could have is when you're trying to take off and when you're landing, because there are a lot of variables that can be at play there.
Absolutely. And I'll just let viewers know right now, the helicopter is looking around at some of the other aircraft, and that last one we saw is probably pretty similar to the aircraft in question here, and just in terms of size and scope, right? We're not talking about a small fighter plane. We're talking about a big bomber aircraft that has been used for decades throughout various military and research operations. In my brief time doing some research here, I have kind of come across, Vanessa, that not only does the Air Force have some of these, but NASA uses them for high altitude research in the atmosphere as well too. So different branches of the government probably use them for different purposes and equip them slightly differently. There's lots of different variants since this first one, the B-52A, came out in 1954, and as I mentioned a few moments ago, the current variant is B-52H. That one's been around since the 60s, and we understand that this was, according to Edwards Air Force Base, a United States Air Force operated B-52 Stratus Fortress aircraft that crashed at about 11:20 a.m. Pacific time, which was, let's see here, about a little over an hour ago, right?
If I had to do some quick math, it would have been around an hour ago.
Yeah.
Close to that. Back up. Yeah, you back up a few time zones there.